Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
David Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flag. There's flag. There's flag. There's flag. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the only football podcast tonight. We are going to talk about who is safe and who is not safe in terms of division winners from 2023 heading into the 2024 season. Kyle and I are going to break each division down, talk about whether the Bills, whether the Cowboys are going to be division winners in 2024, or if there is an underdog type of team that's going to come out and take that division crown. We're also going to do some NFL news roundup. And of course, we're going to end it all with the chives with Kyle. Let's get it. America is football.
Football is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass.
For the moment in time, I don't give a damn.
Oh my God!
You loved it.
30 to 27.
No!
Chiefs win. Chiefs
No!
win 30 to 20. Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, happy Memorial Day. And from the people at Only Football, we thank you for your service and anybody that's lost lives out there to defend this country so we can enjoy this sport of football. We're going to talk more about that later. I'm Kyle, and that's Rick.
I'm Rick, that's Kyle.
And as you can see from the title, we're going to be discussing which divisional winners from last year are the most vulnerable for not repeating. And I'm really excited about it because you got divisions like the NFC North that's kind of turning into a big battle. You got Kirk Cousins in the NFC South and Baker Mayfield from last year as well. So there's quite a few divisions that I think it's going to be a good debate. Either way, me and Rick will probably have plenty to debate about, but I'm excited about this.
Yeah, man, it's fun because we're not necessarily going to crown a division winner on this episode. What we are going to be doing is talking about, for example, are the Bills going to repeat, or not necessarily are they going to repeat, but do they have a better chance of repeating this upcoming season? Or will it be the Dolphins? Will it be the Jets? Will there be an outside shot of the Patriots, for example? We're going to be talking about all of that. I mean, there might be some brewing.
And everybody, we're going to pause this and check what's in Rick's cup. I don't know if he is fit for full duty.
Hey, if you're a Pats fan, if you're rusty right now, you're like, I think there's a shot.
He's drinking the same Kool-Aid that the Patriot fans are drinking. Drake May not even name the starter.
Nope.
What division do you want to start with?
Want to do? Fuck it. You want to start with the AFC East?
Let's start with the AFC East.
Let's start out with the AFC East. So we'll be going pretty much either. We're going to start with the AFC East, and for each division, we're going to say whether the winner from last season is safe or not safe. So Kyle, please take it away.
Okay. We're going to be talking about the Bills here, who went 11-6 in 2023. 2024 feels like a bit of a reset for the Bills. They lost veterans like Jordan Poyer, Mitch Morse, Tre'Davious White, Gabe Davis to the Jags, and of course, Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans. Buffalo is also tied for the 6th most difficult schedule. Last season, the Bills were inconsistent early on, losing to the Jets and Patriots before rallying to edge the Dolphins. Their only real competition for the division title last year was the Dolphins, worth noting
Mhm.
here. Another slow start might be more problematic because the Jets should be improved as long as Aaron Rodgers is playing. Josh Allen gives the Bills a chance to win the division and Super Bowl every single year. He and the offense flourished when Joe Brady took over as coordinator last season, and things should be even better following an offseason of work with the addition of Keon Coleman from Florida State. There is a lot of competition in the AFC East. The Bills are definitely a vulnerable team of losing to the division. And I got to say right off the bat, if we're not predicting the division, but if I had to today, I don't think the Bills are that team this year. I believe with Josh Allen that they have the ability to go to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to be a playoff team every year,
Yep.
barring some kind of total collapse. But they had that last year, and they still showed up and went on a late winning streak and got it together.
Mhm.
The Chiefs last year, right? They were having a down year and they won a Super Bowl. That
Yeah.
is because they have Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. So as long as those two things remain the constant, you could make an argument that no. The Jets haven't proven anything. The Dolphins can't win a playoff game.
Yep.
Until somebody gives me new information, Buffalo should be the divisional favorite. Well, it would depend how high you are on the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. It depends how you feel about Mike McDaniel down in Miami Beach. So when I look at this division, I think 100% the Buffalo Bills are very, very vulnerable this year of losing the division, but I'm not sure that they haven't earned the right for us to go with a different team as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I totally get you. And before I say my part, Bill has become a member of the YouTube channel. Welcome to the Only Football Fam. Bill,
Our
like
first
he
member.
said, memberships are open, and Bill, you are our first member. I would check the emojis you get to use, by the way, Bill, because I think you might find the special one.
Ooh.
It's just for you, as well as we only have 4 available, as well as Kyle and I have a couple in there. But I would take a look at those emojis, Bill. And Lil Lee said he's going to be subbing as a member next week. Let's go! You guys are fucking killing it. We thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, guys. We're going to be talking about and here we go. He's got his own icon. He does. He does. Bill has his own icon. You can't really see it so right on here, but if you look
Deserve
on
it.
YouTube comments, he's got his own, and it's kind of cool. It's a bill. It's a dollar bill across, and then it's got NY on it. Let me see if I can I open this? No, maybe not. Either way,
We'll see it.
yeah, we will see it. We will see it. So thank you so much, Bill. You got your own icon. I hope you appreciate that, and I hope you love it.
And he
But
gifted
it's
one.
oh nice. Oh nice. Look at that.
Wow. Bill,
Oh,
I'm not going to
Ginger.
get a membership just for me. I'm going to get one for someone else too.
Yeah, he gifted Ginger the membership. Bill, you're the fucking best. Look at that. Ginger, you are now a member, as well as
Yes.
Ginger also got his own little icon, his emoji on there. So I hope you guys are happy about that. Because we thought, me and Kyle were talking and we're like, the 2 OGs of the show are Bill and Ginger. I think from the Tom Grossi raids, I think Ginger was the very first one, Kyle.
Yeah, I think, the very first person was Twitch, JST Killer. And it's funny because we had some people in that first season that religiously were a part of it, and then they disappeared. And people are like, look, I'm not even upset that they're not watching. I'm just worried about them. Like, did something bad
Yeah,
happen? Like, where's
you're not
Steve?
wrong. I haven't seen Steve in over a year.
What
It's
happened? Like,
crazy.
did he
I don't
drop
know.
his phone? I just part of me is just like, wow, I'm actually committed to people that watch this show because they were committed to us. I'm just curious,
Yeah.
hopefully everything's okay. Hopefully,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I
yeah, man, it's funny seeing the OGs is definitely Ginger and Bill. for
Yeah.
sure.
And obviously Lil Lee, you're gonna become a member next week. The more memberships we get, the more people that become members of the show, the more emojis we're gonna get, which means we're just gonna be able to pump some new ones out, and it's gonna be awesome for everybody. But um, let's get back to it real quick. Like Kyle said, the Bills aren't necessarily safe. From what I gather, Kyle, you're saying they are not safe, and I'm going to agree. I don't think the Bills, in terms of 2024 division winners, are safe either. I'm going to go with not safe here for the Bills, and you pretty much laid it out exactly how I would. Last season, the last 7 weeks of the year, the Bills needed to go 6-1, including a Week 18 win against the Dolphins, in order to win the division. The Dolphins and the Bills ended up being both 11-60 in the year, but because the Bills ended up beating the Dolphins in Week 18, that was the tiebreaker right there. They were 2-0 against the Dolphins. Obviously, the division records and stuff, that's what's going to get it for you, right? So the Bills did a lot at the end of the year in order to get that division crown, and we talked about it during the season. It's like all of that could have been avoided had they actually not fucked around during the first 2/3 of the year. And, you mentioned the Jets, you mentioned the Dolphins. They have, I just don't think they're safe because the Dolphins still have Tua. They still have got Tyreek Hill. There definitely needs to be some improvement there, especially when the Dolphins are playing games, where the temperature is above 70 degrees. You know what I mean? Like they have to improve in games below 70 degrees in order to actually give a run for the division here. And the Jets, Aaron Rodgers, all signs point to Aaron Rodgers being healthy this year. Unless something absolutely crazy happens for the second year in a row to Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be very, very much in contention for the AFC East. So I wouldn't, again, kind of how Kyle and I were saying at the beginning of this, I just wouldn't mark the Bills as safe as division winners on Facebook, mark safe, mark not safe. I wouldn't do that for the Bills this coming season. They've got two teams that are very capable of going into next year and taking the crown. Again, the Dolphins have their work cut out, but the Jets also have to protect Aaron Rodgers because everything beyond that, it's just a toss up. And the Patriots, I did say there might be a little some there, but the Patriots, there's no way. Unless Jacoby Brissett has some sort of Joe Flacco type of season from last season, I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't either. But and plus, there's just so much change going on over there, and it's not like the hype with DeMeco Ryans was like, no, this guy's going to be a great head coach, and even Denver offered him, I guess, the job before Sean Payton. Like this, how high people were on DeMeco Ryans. Like, I believe in everybody that they, got at staff, Gerard Mayo, everything, but the vibe is not quite what DeMeco Ryans' vibe was. Like, it's a little more of a mystery, especially when you consider how long the last regime was there for, and now it's just kind of all new, and we'll see. But I'm with you. There's no way the Patriots are winning this division. But talking about the other three, I'm going to pump the tires of people down in South Florida for a minute here, because the Miami Dolphins, offensively, we know what they can do every single week.
Yeah.
We know how good they are at home, especially in September and October. We know that they're good during the regular season. It's the postseason where people lose their confidence in the Dolphins. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about just winning the division. Miami was winning a lot of their games until they started dealing with injuries. Bradley Chubb, then they lost the Jalen Phillips. Then Tyreek Hill had an ankle. Tyreek Hill was on pace to breaking the all-time single-season receiving yard record until he dealt with that injury. So injuries did kind of change the trajectory of the Dolphins last year. And yeah, maybe it's a big if with, what's gone on with Tua and stuff. But if the Dolphins can stay healthy, there's no reason to believe that they can't win this division. And we're not even talking about the Jets. Like, we already know the Jets are one of the best rosters in the NFL. So yeah, I mean, you don't really have to sell that to anybody. The Jets could be, a 12-win team next year in Aaron Rodgers' first season because of that continuity with Nathaniel Hackett and the fact that there's just so much raw talent all over the field. If Aaron Rodgers is even 80% of what he was last time we saw him, there's no reason to believe that the Jets can't, play in an AFC championship game. So
Yeah.
Buffalo does have a new coordinator. They
Yeah.
lost those two receivers. I still think they're going to be a 10-win football team. I'm just saying I think it's possible that there's a 12-win football team in the division. You know what I'm saying? So they
Oh,
could
okay.
lose it.
I see what you're saying too, and I agree. Whenever it was that the Bills got oh my God, what's his name? Joe. It was
Joe
the offensive. Joe Brady was their coordinator. Yeah, yeah. Whenever he came in the mix, it just started playing better. But again, getting rid of Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs was just, I don't want to say a huge step back for the Bills, because no matter what, as long as Josh Allen is on the Bills, they're always going to have a really good shot. But it obviously wasn't a good thing. Keon Coleman obviously kind of improves that. You have Shakur from last season, who was able to do some things and look like a pretty damn good wide receiver. But yeah, like you said, I think this is easily a double-digit win team. It's just, will the Jets be better? How will the division play out? What's their schedule look like? Because I haven't really taken a look at their schedule. But yeah, man, I agree. Again, the Bills are not safe, but it's just not safe enough to say that the Miami Dolphins or the Jets will take over, no problem, easy done, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of competition in this division, except from the Patriots. But those top three teams are going to be very, very interesting to watch during the season.
Well, in the first 6 games, look at this. So the NFL is like, we are going to give you an absolute brutal 5-game stretch in your first 6 games. And we're going to make up for it by giving you Arizona week 1. Okay. Arizona, they got a lot to figure out, a ton of new talent. I think Buffalo can win that game. Then week 2, September 12th, it's going to be 100 degrees. They're going to go to Miami and play the Dolphins in Miami. Then they play the Jaguars, who I think are going to be a really tough AFC team all year. Then they play the Ravens. Then they play the Texans. Then they play the Jets.
Yep.
So that 5-game stretch is absolutely brutal. So,
yeah.
I mean, saying that the Bills could come out of this 3-3 is almost like that's a pretty good scenario for the Bills. So, and if we're saying the Dolphins do win that game in early September, they're probably going to have a better record than Buffalo, and it's going to be their division to lose from week 7 to the end of the year.
And the Bills coming out have to play with that purpose that they played the last 7 weeks of the season last year, that we didn't see at all the first half of the season last season, right? They have to come out and play like that, because last year's a great thing to look at if you're the Bills going into next season, being like, we could have won this division kind of easily if we hadn't just slept walk the first half of the season with wins and losses. It's just like you said, like, if they can take that win against the Dolphins early on in the season, get that momentum in the division, especially too, because I think everybody's going to beat up on the Patriots. But the Jets and Dolphins are obviously going to be the hard games. I think they can start to look, to the division title later on in the season.
Yeah, and they play the Patriots twice in their last 3 weeks, so they're not going to benefit. They're not going to benefit from that. I mean, by the end of the year, let's say it's a close race, you're going to look at the schedule and you're going to probably go, okay, Buffalo's going to win their last 3. But if it does come down, let's say there's a 3-way tie and Buffalo gets to play the Patriots twice of their last 3 games, most people are going to crown Buffalo predict Buffalo to win this division if it's tied at that point.
Yeah.
And that just more to your point of why they have to start fast, because their schedule is difficult. They're not playing any of those Patriot games in the beginning. So if they can just get to late December, mid-December, tied with the Dolphins, tied with the Jets, pull away, taking advantage of playing a Patriots team twice.
Definitely. Let's move on to your division, Kyle, the AFC West. The Chiefs were last year's division winners. They were last year's Super Bowl winners. They are the defending Super Bowl champions.
They've actually won the AFC West 8 years in a row, but go ahead.
8 years in a row. 8 years in a row as well. What, 3 total Super Bowls now for
Whatever.
the Chiefs? Oh, man. Okay, so this one's kind of easy for me, and I know you're probably going to hate to hear it, but the Chiefs are safe. The Chiefs are safe in terms of division crown again. Every other team in the division right now is rebuilding. Let's start with the Chargers. They have a quarterback, but they don't have any wide receivers. Really, Quentin Johnson is the only notable name coming back from last season's roster. Austin Eckler's gone. Sorry?
They drafted that guy out of Georgia, I think.
The wide receiver?
Yeah, and Brendan Rice, but that was like a 7th round thing. I'll pull it up really quick. It was Chargers. I think it was in the 3rd round
of this season's draft.
McConkley, I think it was.
You mean of this year's draft, right? This past
draft. The Chargers.
Oh, yeah. I just meant like Quentin Johnson is the only noticeable name from last year's roster. Coming back. Yeah,
Ladd McConkey.
That's who it was. Thank you, Bill. Yep. So that, Justin Herbert, Quentin Johnson, they have some players on defense. They've got Khalil Mack. They've got one of the Bosa brothers, not Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, right? Joey Bosa.
Yep.
The most important thing is that they have Jim Harbaugh as their coach. They have a huge turnover going on in the coaching staff right now. So I can't see them going into next year and having like that instant success because of so many moving parts, because of so many brand new things. I can see Jim Harbaugh having the second most success in that division. But again, we have to kind of see how things play out and what happens with those offensive weapons. The Raiders if you're going with Gardner Minshew or what's the other guy's name, the rookie from last year,
Aiden O'Connell.
If those guys are that's your quarterback room, there's some issues there. I mean, Gardner Minshew, props to him what he did last year with the Colts when Anthony Richardson went down, getting them into almost playoff contention. Like props to him. But again, with Devontae Adams, they're cool. You got Brock Bowers now, if I'm not mistaken. Right? They did get Brock Bowers. I just don't see this team overall being amazing on offense. Again, I like Antonio Pierce. I like that coaching staff. I like what they did and bringing him in as coach. But I just don't see them competing. Honestly, if you were to ask me right now, I'd probably have them last in the division. And then the Broncos, obviously, much more about the Broncos than I do. But with Bo Nix coming in, Sean Payton in his second year as a head coach, you still have Cortland Sutton there. The defense, I don't know. The defense really regressed last year, and how Bo Nix does as a quarterback with Zach Wilson there, I'm assuming some sort of competition is going to happen, even though they're probably going to give it to Bo Nix no matter what at the start of the season. I don't see really the Broncos kind of putting up any sort of pressure onto the Chiefs, and that's why I think the Chiefs are absolutely safe in 2024 as division champs.
All right. Well, I'm going to disagree.
Let's go.
I am, and the disagreement came a little early. I'm going to point to a couple things. One, and this is probably the most important. Let's not forget that last year was a down year for the Chiefs. Okay.
Yeah.
Offensively, they were not what the standard is for the Chiefs. And for most of the season, there were meltdowns happening on the field. Get, the offsides, lined up off the ball, on the ball, all of this stuff. It was like there was a meltdown. going on in the middle of the season, not a meltdown in September, October. We're talking like a meltdown in November. They
Mhm.
lost a late game, I think week 16, week 17 to the Raiders. And that was a game that they
Yeah.
actually needed to win and they just couldn't win. They turned into a better team in the postseason. And that experience that they've had really showed.
Mhm.
That's why they're able to beat some of these teams that are better on paper, like the Ravens last year, because they have the experience, they've been there before, and they have Patrick Mahomes. But this is not about that. This is about them winning the division again, which Harbaugh is in the division now.
Yeah.
And I've been saying this since the beginning. When
Liar.
Harbaugh got this job, I said, this is bad news for the Broncos. Now, I think that people have forgotten how good of a coach Harbaugh is because he hasn't been in the NFL for a while.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying this is going to take time. This is going to be a process. I know that when Harbaugh took over for the 49ers, Alex Smith was considered a bust in the draft.
Yeah.
Not only did he turn him around, I'm going to point to week 6, the biggest game of Harbaugh's first year as the 49ers head coach in 2011. It came week 6 against the Detroit Lions. The Niners were 4-1 and the Lions were 5-0. And they were able to get that 25-19 win. And Harbaugh immediately was 5-1 in his first year with a team that was, a not a good team the year before. I remember
Mhm.
the 49ers, they couldn't do anything that worked until Harbaugh got there. And then he fixed everything immediately. The difference is we already know Justin Herbert's elite. We
Mhm.
already know that about him. So what is that going to do? I mean, they drafted Joe Alt. They're going to be a physical team. They're going to run the football, and Herbert is going to be special. And this is going to work right away. And there's a game that's going to happen. It's not week 6, it's week 5. And it's against the
Ooh.
Chiefs. And that is going to be September 29th. And that game is going to be in LA. The Chargers are going to have that home field, not a great home field advantage. That's going to change now that Harbaugh's there. This has changed the dynamic of everything. Everything that we used to dock a point for the Chargers, we can't do anymore. They're not going to Charger games anymore.
Oh.
Right? That's not a term anymore. Harbaugh's not a loser. I don't know how else to say it. Like, this
That's
guy's a
true.
winner.
That's true.
He's gonna win. He's gonna have his team ready to go. He makes his player. I mean, you saw the national championship team. They were crying for his coach. Like,
Yeah.
he fights for his. He gets so involved emotionally in his players that they want to play for their coach. Like, this guy has a captivating personality, a very, very quirky person that gets his players to fully buy in.
Mhm.
By this game, I would say that the Chargers are probably going to be 3-1 or 4-0. Opening
Wow.
games against the Raiders, the Panthers,
Wow.
the Steelers. Yeah, they can win all 3 of those football games. And before you know it, week 4, the Chiefs are coming to LA. And if the Chargers win that game, it's their division to give back. And I'll tell you, right after that, they play the Broncos, the Cardinals, the Saints, the Browns, the Titans. This is a very winnable schedule. If Harbaugh gets this team ready to go, this team's going to be 7-2, 8-1.
Wow.
This is going to be an immediate thing for the Chargers. So
Damn.
I say all that because the Chiefs struggled massively during the regular season, but there's something about winning a Super Bowl that kind of makes us put all that away and say, no, the Chiefs aren't at risk. They won 8 in a row. They won 9 in a row. It doesn't matter that, Andy Reid's there. They got, Chris Jones coming back. Like, there's no way the Chargers are at risk. But
Mhm.
I'm here to say that the terms have changed since Harbaugh entering this division. And of
Mhm.
course, the Broncos and Sean Payton with Bo Nix, no, I don't think that they're going to be a risk of winning the division. But if you show me an elite coach and an elite quarterback, I would probably take that team to win the division every single time. The difference is we have 2 of those in our division now, but it'll be a battle.
I think I like what you're saying about Jim Harbaugh. I really do. And again, not shitting on Sean Payton in the Broncos either, because Sean Payton on his own is a damn good coach in that division. I mean, you like you said, you have 3 really damn good coaches in that division, and Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, and Sean Payton. Antonio Pierce, again, he had a really solid rookie season or interim head coach season. We'll see what he becomes later on in his career as a coach. And 2 out of the 3 have won Super Bowls. You know, Jim Harbaugh is the only one who has not won one, but he has been to one. And like you said, he has taken a team that was for the most part kind of down in the dumps San Francisco 49ers. Every time you played them, you were just like, this might be a win. No matter what team was playing them. It was kind of like playing the Panthers for a while, you know, before he got there, before the 49ers really started to become somewhat of a good team. So I do like what you're saying. For me, again, and I've been saying it ever since we've had the podcast, we've started it. Beat the Chiefs, prove me wrong. Until then, the Chiefs are going to be division winners. At least to me, they're safe.
I'm trying to see really quick. How many times did Jim Harbaugh go to the NFC Championship as the 49ers head coach? I know he was there. I think he was there for. Okay, that's crazy. Okay, Harbaugh hasn't coached in the NFL since 2014, but he was 44-19-1 in 4 seasons. And in those 4 seasons, he led them to 3 straight NFC championship games.
Wow. Yeah.
Winning one of them.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't fuck around. Like this guy is results, and it's going to happen really quick. And man, like you said, when he went to the 49ers, that was a big project. The Chargers are hardly a big project. Like there's still going to be some growing pains because you lost Austin Eckler, you lost Keenan Allen, you lost Mike Williams, you know, but they still have Derwin James, one of the best safeties in the league. Joey Bosa is still there. They drafted a physical guy in Joe Walt. They got younger, and they have the quarterback to do it. So I think the Chargers are going to be slept on because of who they've shown us to be in the past 20 years. I just don't think some people realize that none of that matters anymore because Harbaugh's the coach.
And those matchups between the Chiefs and the Chargers now, especially with one of those quarterbacks, 2 the coaches, those are going to be really damn good games, especially this upcoming season, right? Those are going to be damn good games. And Bill's saying Chargers not charging anymore. Put it in the red book of predictions, Rick. I love it. Because we're going to go back to this for sure. Like Kyle saying the Chargers are no longer charging. Wow. That's a hell of a take.
And the Chargers are 5-1. And we're like, all right, well,
all right, we
knew we were going to be here.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, really, you have the Chiefs as kind of like not safe, but only due to the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh.
I think the Chargers are the biggest threat. I also think, I think if Bo Nix,
I knew it.
I think if Bo Nix is everything Sean Payton thought he was, then I think they might find some success. I don't know if they're, I don't know if it's going to be enough to threaten the Chiefs and the Chargers, but this is Sean Payton's first quarterback that he's drafted. Like he's never done this before. If this guy truly understands the quarterback position and he got his guy, I think it's not unreasonable to think Denver could have a lot of success in a guy that played 6 seasons in college. He has that experience. It's not like he's coming in and, he's going to look like Zach Wilson. Like he's going to look like he belongs. All the reports coming from Denver right now are like, yeah, he's on the field with, Zach Wilson and with Jared Stidham. But the difference is like Bo Nix doesn't actually look like a rookie out there. That's what everyone's saying. He's a very, very intelligent guy that is processing, speed is really good, and he's getting rid of the ball quick. And Sean's going to be probably a very quarterback friendly play caller for him. And that's what Manning said like 4 days ago. He was like, I know the system Sean Payton's running. It's super quarterback friendly. So Tim Patrick coming back from injury. We got a guy that made the Pro Bowl as a rookie and Marvin Mims that's going to be stepping up. We bring in Josh Reynolds. Cortland Sutton still a huge threat. We find out that a tight end on our roster, Sean Payton said, you guys are all going to know this guy by the end of the year. He said everybody was looking down at their play sheet trying to figure out who number 85 is. And then he told him, he's like, by the end of the year, they're going to know who 85 is.
And
So,
and you guys brought in Knicks's wide receiver from Oregon.
yeah, and we brought in Orlando Franklin.
Franklin, yeah. I was going to say all those things, especially the Cortland Sutton wide receiver 1, like it's similar to a lot of these quarterbacks now coming in with solid wide receivers. JJ McCarthy with Justin Jefferson, Caleb Williams with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. And we talk about Knicks coming in with Cortland Sutton, who was the best player on the Broncos last year and is a absolutely number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. He goes up for those 50-50 balls. We saw his ridiculous athleticism in those close games where Russell Wilson was throwing it in the corner of the end zone and he was getting both feet in and still stretching out and catching the ball. So that is just, again, that just reinforces, I guess the transition a little bit, makes the transition a little bit easier for Bo Nix into the NFL with the number 1 guy like that.
Yeah. And I still think like, okay, the Broncos are probably 3rd, but it's just, you never know. Like last year, that whole thing that we saw, like that just felt like Sean wasn't really happy. Like he was like, okay, I got to try to make it work, but this is a totally different thing. Like throw it all away. Now he drafted a quarterback, and if it goes really well, you could have it. And this goes for any quarterback. It goes for Caleb Williams. It goes for maybe not Drake May, Jaden Daniels potentially.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels.
There are a few quarterbacks that who's going to CJ Stroud this year, right? Because last year it wasn't supposed to be CJ Stroud, and you just never know who's going to really take on to the NFL. Like you can do all the scouting, but week 1, we'll have a pretty good idea because some of these guys just understand the game and it's clear that they got it, whatever it is, like they got it. So if one of the, quarterbacks that's new in the division in Bo Nix, if he's got it, then, you're going to have 3 teams fighting for the number 1 spot. So I don't see how the Raiders could get there. I do think if they're even competitive, Antonio Pierce might be coach of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
But the Raiders find themselves in a really unique situation because if Antonio Pierce needs to win to protect his job, then they need to give him a better quarterback. Now, if they go with Aiden O'Connell and he's ass, do you stick with him? Or do you let Gardner Minshew come win you just enough games to not have a top pick next year? So I think it's kind of like they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. Like it's
interesting. Yeah.
They need a tank or they're going to get stuck in that Kenny Pickett mediocre stuff where it's like, yeah, we'll win you a couple games. And, we're not going to fully, what the Bears needed was the number 1 pick. And so I think they're going to be coached really well. And Gardner Minshew, if he does start, we know he can win games for you and keep you in the playoff picture. But is that what the Raiders really need right now?
That's a very good point because again, like you saw what Gardner Minshew did last year, and to your point, if Aiden O'Connell is coming in and by week 6, week 7, you are not getting the results you want, and you're Antonio Pierce, which way do you go? Do you go to Mark Davis and are like, hey, I'm sticking with my guy Aiden O'Connell because if you want a good position in the draft next year, this is the route we have to go for a quarterback. But I also want to continue to be head coach of this team because I think if with a new quarterback, you give me 3 more years or 2 more years, obviously depending how the season goes with him as a head coach and how much the guys like him and what the culture is like, it's like, I can make this happen for you, but you have to promise me that you're not gonna fucking
Fire
what
my ass.
yeah, you're not gonna Josh McDaniels me, or you know what I mean? Like it's gotta be one of those things that if you're Antonio Pierce, you're like, shit, which route do we go here? Like, do we go Gardner Minshew and win 9 or 10 games, hopefully? Or do we go with Aiden O'Connell? And if he's asked, like you said, do we win 5, 6 games at max? So that's actually a very interesting take. Uh, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome to look at. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights. What's
Boom.
up?
I
Thanks
don't
for
know what
joining
that
the stream.
was.
Woo!
Woo! That's awesome. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights. Has he been in here before?
Not that I know. Uh,
Well,
Daniel, is this your first? Is this your first time in here?
Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is
Giants.
that you?
Is that, that was? Oh God, was that in the intro or outro?
That's on the intro.
I love that.
I love that so much.
That
Well,
was so good.
let's move on to a team that I don't think is going to be debated very much. We're going to go to the NFC West and talk about the San Francisco 49ers.
Ooh, NFC. All right.
The 49ers have a really probably the most talented roster. There are trade rumors around Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, and even following the departure of defensive stalwart Eric Armstead, they remain this close to winning the Super Bowl. They have Brock Purdy. I think those guys do come back. They drafted Ricky Pearsall. Christian McCaffrey is the offensive player of the year. Brock Purdy was in the MVP conversations all year, went to the Super Bowl, and looked like he belonged in it. The defense is better when you look at the fact that they got a new defensive coordinator in. Listen to all the players talking about this guy. They're like, oh, no, this is just a great, schematic fit for us. Like, all the players, the coach. So it tells me that this dude has been stepping up in meetings, in the defensive rooms and saying stuff, coaching stuff that he's shown Kyle Shanahan and all the players. Like sometimes you coach so well that you take someone's job. And that's what
Yeah.
it sounds like happened in San Francisco. So, and we've seen this a lot. 49ers have done a really good job of bringing coaches, into the league and then becoming head coaches. You look at Evero, you look at DeMeco Ryans. 49ers is almost a temporary stop to eventually greater and better things. So I think the defense is going to mesh better. I think Nick Bosa is going to get back to 18.5 sacks with a true threat on the other side, the guy they brought in free agency. I think the 49ers, their biggest threat is definitely the Rams.
Yes.
I think the Rams are going to be better than people think, but are they going to be better than the NFC defending champions? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, and that's my argument as well, is I'm marking the 49ers absolutely safe in 2024. Again, with the caveat that the Rams are the only team threatening in that division. But the most important thing as well, and we saw it last year, was can Stafford stay healthy? If Matthew Stafford stays healthy throughout the entire year, then absolutely, yes, there is going to be a very, very good shot for the Rams. And while we had Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams kind of, keep the offense afloat while he was gone, and while Cooper Kupp was gone for that stretch of games, like in the early middle of the season or so, I think it really all does depend and all fall on Matthew Stafford's shoulders. If he stays healthy throughout the entire season, then I don't think there's going to be an issue in being able to compete for the division crown. It's going to be hard to go up against the San Francisco 49ers, like you said, because the talent across that roster is just unfair. It really is just unfair. Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, as long as all that stuff continues to be all well and good for them. On the defense, Bosa, who was Greenlaw, the Warner, like all these guys, it's just the talent is ridiculous.
Their
and
safety's coming back from injury.
Yeah, who oh my God, what's his name? Hufanga?
Yeah, something
like that, right? Yeah. I'm not very good with names. Remember, this is the only football podcast. And the Seattle Seahawks and the Cardinals, I think they're going to try to battle it out for third. Although I have the Seahawks probably at third, the Cardinals probably at fourth, but it really all depends, at least for the Cardinals, how well that Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr. connection is and what he can do to spread the ball around. It's just that their defense was really, I think it was really bad last year. I mean, that's kind of the biggest worry right now for the Cardinals is actually getting their defense to be decent. But yeah, like you said, man, the Rams are the only team threatening the 49ers, and even that might still be a long shot. Like, I really just think of the Rams as a wild card team at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, now there's only one team that gets the bye, so it's like everyone's a wild card team.
That's true. I mean, that's true. You're right. Yeah.
So there's no shame in that anymore, Yeah, I mean, the NFC is gonna be tough, dude. It's gonna be tough, and I think the biggest wild card in this division, well, the Arizona Cardinals they drafted like 18 players, so
they drafted 50 different players.
I mean, it's so insane. So of course that's a wild card, but I'm talking about the Seahawks in Mac Donald, the head coach, Geno Smith, kind of overachieving in year one and year two, basically overachieving so much in year one that he earned year three, kind of.
Yeah.
And a team that's drafting really well, right? So I don't know what to expect. Like if the Seahawks come out and Geno's playing like he did in year one and it's just meshing, like the Seahawks could be a good regular season team as well. I just don't think that they have what it takes to, knock down the Niners. I do think the Rams have that. Now, when you look at the Rams, no Aaron Donald, but they had a great draft. Brendan Fisk and bringing in the best. Jared Verse.
Was it Jared Verse? Yeah, right.
My own player. Yeah, Jared Verse. He was, the best edge rusher, arguably in the draft. So the Rams, they drafted players that can actually contribute right away to a team that really just started getting going at the end of last season. Matthew Stafford was dealing with injuries. If he can put together one more solid injury-free season of playing at a high level, then this team could go to the Super Bowl. Like Matthew Stafford is one of those guys that is one of those guys. Like if he stays healthy, he can play at a Super Bowl level, and he proved that when he won the Super Bowl his first year with the Rams. Like, he was keeping Detroit afloat for all those years. Could you imagine if Matthew Stafford had the team the Lions have now?
Oh my God, that would be scary.
That would be scary, and nothing too, because Jared Goff's playing at a high level as well. It was a win-win for both of them, but let's not pretend that Matthew Stafford had the team Jared Goff had in Detroit. He didn't. No. Matthew Stafford, if he can put together a good season with Puka Nacua and what he showed us last year, there's no reason that the Rams can't at least be a legitimate threat to taking the division. I don't think they do, but I think that the 49ers are going to be having to check the schedule often because the Rams are going to be right next to them.
Yeah, and I like your point about the Seahawks too, because really, again, Geno Smith is the biggest question. The quarterback room really is the biggest question in Seattle, because we saw what they did with the defense, especially their cornerback, who I think was not defensive rookie of the year, but he was up there. What they did with their defense, they bring in Leonard Williams from the Giants. We've talked about that quite a bit too, and what kind of a difference he did or didn't make, depending on which way you want to look at it during the season. But they improved. They improved on defense. Again, the biggest question is what's going to happen in that quarterback room. Which Geno are we going to get? Are we going to get year one Seattle Seahawks wild card round Geno, or are we going to get, injured Geno from last year? Are we going to get inconsistent? Because year one, I mean, he was his completion percentage was like at a 72%, 73%. I think it was the highest in the league in 2022. Something like that. Regardless, like that's the Geno that they need. But the Seahawks again are kind of in that like, God, I hate, what is it? Like that bridge quarterback. We're trying to really elevate the pieces around the quarterback. So one day we bring in an actual franchise quarterback type of situation that they're in right now.
And then they got rid of the future in Drew Lock. I mean, at least
they got rid of the future.
Just saying, at least you got a plan in place. Like, what do you do now? Like, what if Geno's good? How are you going to draft the quarterback if Geno's good?
Yeah, that'll be tough.
37 years old. Like, what is the plan here?
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
Raiders.
You said what?
It's kind of like the Raiders. It's like, truly, I don't understand the plan. Is the plan to win a Super Bowl with these guys? Like, I don't know. Like, how do you sell that to the fan base?
I was gonna say, I recently met up with a buddy of ours in the Navy. Do you remember Deathridge?
Yeah.
He is a diehard Seahawks fan, and we got to talk to him and see kind of like get the fans' perspective of what the deal is or where they think the team is headed. Because, like you said, there's nothing but like confusion about the Raiders and really the Seahawks at this point on our end, at least. Because it's like, are you going with Geno? Are you going with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew? Like, is that really the point? Yeah. So we actually got to get him on. He did say he was willing to come on, talk about the Seahawks. So we actually do have to plan that. Nicest guy. One of the nicest people I've ever met in the Navy. And we will have him on
besides
for you guys. Besides another guy. Yeah, no, for sure. We'll have him on and kind of get the Seahawks perspective, because I still have that bias of I want the Seahawks to be good, because it's just nice to be in a city where the team is good. So, but that's a whole other thing.
I'm in Tennessee, so I can tell you what it's like when you're in a place and the team's not good. All of the people are still delusional, no matter what.
It fucking blows. All right, so we did the NFC and AFC West. We did the AFC East. Let's move to the NFC East. The Cowboys were the division winners last year. They won the division 12-5, with the Eagles one game behind at 11-6. We saw what the Cowboys were not in the playoffs when they got absolutely smoked by the Packers. And during the season, there was times when the Cowboys looked just bad. What's that? Underwhelming. Yeah, underwhelming. Absolutely. And I really do think if it wasn't for the epic collapse of the Eagles last season, the Cowboys would have been number 2, where we'd be talking about back-to-back division champs of the Eagles for the first time since like 2004 or whatever for the NFC East. In terms of being safe or not safe for the Cowboys, I've got them as not safe. They are bringing back pretty much everyone of note from last season, but Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are still in the division. The Commanders can be an exciting team with Jaden Daniels, and the Giants have a pretty damn good wide receiver core. I will say, Kyle's like, no, absolutely not. Bill, I'm sorry. Kyle's saying no. I'm giving you guys props for the wide receiver core. It's just they need Danny Dimes to actually be an average type of quarterback to even threaten anything there. But the Cowboys for me are not safe in terms of division winners. They're not going to repeat. Like Bill, like you're saying. 2001, 2004, then it switched every year between the Commanders, Giants, blah, 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 blah. But the Cowboys are not safe. This division has not had a repeat winner since 2004. The Cowboys, again, are bringing back everybody. Dak Prescott is playing on the last year of his contract. Again, Jalen Hurts, we've seen him from his wild card year next year go to the Super Bowl. And while they took a really terrible exit against the Bucs in the playoffs, it's still Jalen Hurts. It's still that defense. It's still A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Like, it's still a lot of talent on that team. So Cowboys, not safe for 2024.
Well, you look at the teams that we said were the most safe, the Chiefs and the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
What do they have? They got a good quarterback and a good head coach. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott played at the highest level that he's ever played last year. And their head coach has proven that he's better as a play caller. When Mike McCarthy took over play calling
Mm-hmm.
duties, the I think I saw a list the other day of how many teams since 2019 scored 40 points. There's teams like the Broncos that don't have one. There's some teams that have like 3. The
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys had like 7. Like, I think we forget just how dominant the Cowboys were last year during the regular season. It's easy to forget about that when you lose to the Packers the way that they did in the
Yeah.
postseason. But they were 12-5. Dak Prescott was playing really good football.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you. I wouldn't say they're safe, but I also wouldn't say like there's no shot in hell, right? I
Yeah.
still think
Yeah.
like it's the Dallas Cowboys. Their CeeDee Lamb's working out contract stuff, but he already said he's staying on the team and he's going to play this year.
Mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott, McCarthy, Micah Parsons, like the pieces are still there. They added the Eagles added Quinion Mitchell and Cooper
Mm-hmm.
DeJean.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're just talking about who won the offseason, the Eagles, between the Cowboys and the Eagles. I know Jerry Jones said they were all in. I guess all in was
Wrong.
bringing Ezekiel Elliott back. Um,
Run it back. Run it back. Run it back.
I'm not fucking leaving. But there was nothing that the Cowboys did that was big splash. And then you
No.
look at the Eagles and how they drafted Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. How does one team get
Mm-hmm.
both of the number 2 and the number 3 corners in the draft? Some had him, Quinion Mitchell's the number 1. Like, how did they pull that off? How
Yeah.
did they get Saquon Barkley from a divisional team? The Giants, how did the Giants let that even fly?
Yeah.
The Eagles are going to be on an FU tour. Yes, they did lose
True.
Jason Kelce. Now, that
Mhm.
is a significant loss, but Jason Kelce played a large role in the players that were drafted to replace him, and there's been a contingency plan in place for this moment for multiple years now. Jason Kelce was making these decisions, for the last 3 years, whether he was going to retire or keep playing.
Mhm. Mhm.
This isn't like this was the first year it happened. So I think Jalen Hurts played injured a lot last season, and it showed. I think the Eagles probably win this division, but it's not
Ooh.
like the Cowboys are not going to still win 12 games.
Mhm.
The Cowboys could very well win, between 10 and 12 games again this year, and it'll come down to probably a Week 18 match between the Cowboys and the Eagles. Let's take a look at Eagles' schedule really
Yeah.
quick and just see Week 18. They got the Giants. So the week
Oh.
before they played the Cowboys. So maybe if the Eagles get that win, they can have they could clinch the division with that win, and then the Giants game becomes meaningless, so they probably rest. But
Mhm.
who knows? It could be a tight division race. They got the Cowboys for the first time November 10th, and then the second and last game of the year will probably be a very important game.
And there's a great question in general by Bill here. Does Jerry extend Dak? I mean, what I just have a
What's the better option?
that's exactly what I was going to say. Who else are you looking at? Are you looking at making a big free agent splash? Because
Trey Lance?
I mean, Trey Lance can be an option too. I mean, he was traded to the Cowboys last year. He played a total of 3-4 games for the 49ers, got injured for the season, and they pretty much were like, you know what, Brock Purdy is the future. See you, Trey Lance. You know what I mean? So this could be something that absolutely is a route they take. It just depends how much they like him during, the OTAs right now, off-season stuff. What his relationship is. They're fully going Dak Prescott, and unless a crazy injury happens to Dak Prescott this year, that Trey Lance is kind of thrust into the starting quarterback position, and he shows something. Like you said, what's the better option than Dak Prescott? He played out of his mind last year. Even in that loss to the Packers, he put up 450 yards and like 4 touchdowns. Where else are you going to get that production? Is Trey Lance the next guy that you are thinking is going to lead you to a Super Bowl? How much faith do you have in that? And if you fully intend on winning these 10 to 12 games and being in absolute contention for the NFC East, where does that put you in terms of draft positioning next year for a quarterback if you're not going to sign Dak? They have to, man. I think they have to. And this is the shitty thing for Cowboys fans is because I'm sure, at least in my opinion, I think they might be divided in terms of going with Dak and not going with Dak, because what has Dak done in the playoffs to give them any sort of reassurance that he is the guy, right? But also, like what we were just talking about, what the fuck is a better option here?
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say a lot of those yards Dak Prescott threw were garbage time.
They were. But I
Dak
mean, like you said,
didn't have a great game. If you watch that game,
the first half was garbage. Yeah.
I think he threw multiple pick sixes too.
He did. And I think he threw like a total of 3 or 4 interceptions, something like that.
He threw 2.
Oh,
I
2.
pulled it up. He had 403 yards, but he threw 60 times. So, Jordan Love only had 300 yards shy of just 28 yards shy of 300, but he only threw the ball 21 times. So
yes, that's how that game was going for the Cowboys.
Yeah, and Aaron Jones had 3 touchdowns in that game too.
My God, that's insanity to think about, man.
It's like ultimately, though, I mean, if you got a quarterback that can get you 12-6, a 12-5 regular season, you don't move on from that guy. I don't care who it is. Like there's better places to be, but there's much fewer better places to be from 12-5 as there are worse places to be, like the rest of the league. Like you're still one of the elite teams. You look at the points. He played an awful game. I do think like you feel really bad about another poor postseason performance. Like, man, how do you have faith in this guy? And it's like, ultimately, what's more important than believing that you have a chance to win the Super Bowl? And if you don't have that, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
And this just seems really familiar to how Tony Romo was with the Cowboys. It was like great regular season quarterback, can't win the big games. And no matter what happens, they just can't get the job done. And I think fans are going to be becoming increasingly impatient with the fact of this has been going on for decades and decades. And you may want to reach in the draft, but I mean, Dak Prescott kind of came into the league, wasn't supposed to start, played really well in the preseason, so well that they started him over Tony Romo, and then Tony Romo left the league. So, I mean, don't forget that he was that special. Like he took I think it would have to be somebody doing that to Dak in order for that to happen. If somebody comes in, they're playing really good in the preseason, I think they can move on. But if that guy doesn't exist and there's no one breathing down the back of his neck, then I don't see who you're moving on to.
Exactly. I mean, and it's a great question because of the things you said. Like, if Trey Lance isn't even looking like a starter, kind of how who was that backup that they had that did really well, and everybody was like, "Oh, like
Mayer." I think
no, not Mayer. It was I think it started with a C or something. Put Cowboys backup quarterback.
Cooper.
Cooper Rush. Yes, Cooper Rush.
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, he's the. Let's see. Yeah, so unless Trey Lance or Cooper Rush is looking like the answer, like you said, what's the better option here? And Bill makes a good point about how the Cowboys had a non-existent free agent season and their draft not much there either. Eagles got better, absolutely. We looked at a division like this pretty similarly last year, and it was the AFC South. CJ Stroud got drafted to the Texans, right? And we were pretty much saying Trevor Lawrence and the Jags got this. He emerged. CJ Stroud and the Texans emerged. Rookie quarterback, rookie head coach, young offense, young defense. They took over that division. And when we look at Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, they have very similar players. They've got Scary Terry there with Jaden Daniels as quarterback, rookie quarterback. They have the new head coach who was the Dallas defensive coordinator. I'm forgetting his name at the moment. But they got a lot of young. What's that?
Got the D'Amico Ryans?
No. The Cowboys defensive coordinator is now the
Dan
Washington.
Quinn?
Dan Quinn is now the Washington head coach. Yeah. So they've got some elements there from the Texans of last season. I think they'll be an interesting team. I think they'll be somewhat of a like a kind of like a pest, I would say, to the Cowboys and Eagles. I just don't think they have that CJ Stroud Texans type of energy going into this season. I could be wrong, obviously, like we were last year with the Jags and the Texans. But I think when they play the Cowboys and the Eagles, I mean, I think those will be really good games to look at. I fully expect the Eagles and Cowboys to win, but they might, I don't know. Do you think they might make some sort of splash at all? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I thought Jaden Daniels was the best quarterback. If I could.
Boo.
Well,
ahead.
Last year they got it wrong too. Like, I'm not saying that every year they get it wrong, and I think Caleb Williams is the safest quarterback in this year's class. But if you wanted to go with something that's not so safe and get a little adventurous, could I sell you maybe Jaden Daniels, a guy that accounted for 55 touchdowns last year, won the Heisman, and got so much better than the year before? Could you imagine if he makes another step like that? And
in the NFL,
he's got all the tools to be very special on the field, hard to bring down. He could be like Lamar Jackson, somebody that can truly run or throw, not somebody that looks to run. I need the play to. I saw Justin Fields highlights today, and it was like, welcome to Pittsburgh. And you know what I commented on it? I said, great highlights, but this looks like a quarterback that actually wants to play to break down and then run. Like, it was almost like, we need the play to break down so that I can be special. And that became like what he relied on. Very rarely did you see him staying in the pocket and just trusting the play and making, tight window throws. It's a lot of running backwards and oh my God, he scored. Holy shit.
A lot of reports coming out. They were saying the same thing. Yeah.
So, I forget where I was going with that. Jaden Daniels.
With Jaden Daniels, yeah.
So you do get quarterbacks that come in that can actually do both at a really high level. They're not just looking to run. Like Lamar Jackson, how many times have they tried to call him a running back, and then he throws for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns?
Yeah,
and
several.
And just reminds everybody, like, no, I'm really good at both. And we don't see those type of players often. CJ Stroud's not like that. Like Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick are really, the only two that come to mind. Like, there's been, your Steve McNairs and Vince Young and other quarterbacks that have even Rodgers can run a little bit. But when you're talking about like people that will take up, I mean, of course we got to give Josh Allen his flowers too.
Yes. Yep.
But there's just not that many guys that can do both at a high level. And if you can, and the game's not too fast for you, like, you can immediately be in the MVP conversation. And Jaden Daniels has that upside. And I'm actually really excited to watch him play. But I mean, it's a lot of new. So to say that the Commanders are going to go out there and compete, I mean, that means Jaden Daniels really took a step, like that means that he was maybe the steal of the draft if that happens. But I think that I don't think those shoes are too big for Jaden Daniels to fill. So, I mean, we're just going to have to wait till week 1. And let me see if I can see really quick who they play week 1. So the Packers and Eagles play week 1. That's going to be a really tough game.
Yeah, especially in Brazil. It's not really a home game for
Right.
what the Eagles
The Bucks.
technically. Yeah.
So the Commanders are playing the Bucks week 1.
Oh,
And that'll be a really good test. And the Commanders are going to have to get on the road for that game. And then they get their home opener next week or the week after against the Giants. So we'll find out probably pretty quick. Same thing with, that's what I'm really excited about. Like all of these guys that got drafted, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, he'll probably start. I'm just excited to see how they all do. Like if you had to say, like, what are you most excited for? It's to see how this quarterback class does. All of them. I'm really excited to look at every single one of these guys and be calling the games, here and experiencing that with everybody, because it's, when's the last time, not in our lifetime, have we seen this many quarterbacks come in and start immediately? So it is like a unique kind of year.
And that's what I said, like before the draft. I was like, I think this is going to be one of the most successful quarterback classes of all time. And I mean, we talk about Drake May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, all first round guys. And if they all start this season and they have continued success, like you said, like it's awesome to kind of just be not only part of the draft where that happened, but to see them for the next decade or so and be good. You know what I mean?
Cousins hasn't been cleared for week 1.
What's that?
Kirk Cousins hasn't been cleared for week 1 yet. So Michael Penix could, I mean, people are thinking he'll be ready, but if he's not, we might see all 6 start week 1. That's crazy.
Wow. That would be crazy. JJ McCarthy. Yeah, because JJ McCarthy, I mean, Darnold, who knows what that's going to look like in training camp?
Yeah.
And all that shit. So it might be something that we've not seen in a while, like you said. You mentioned Justin Fields, and obviously he's on the Steelers now. So let's move back to the AFC and continue this with the AFC North. The Ravens were the winners of the AFC North last year, and they had a record of 13-4 with the Browns at 11-6 in second place. Steelers 10-7. All 3 of those teams made the playoffs. For me, I'll just real quick, I think the Ravens are safe. I think the Ravens are safe. And just by that alone, already, I know Kyle's going to disagree. The Browns second place last season. They have a great defense. Have we seen that Browns team with Deshaun Watson and been like, yep, this can be a division winner? I don't think we have. There's been games where Deshaun Watson is played like Deshaun Watson of old with the Texans. And we were like, okay, this is the Deshaun Watson they need. This is the Deshaun Watson that they guaranteed however many millions of dollars to him and gave up their, what was it, a few first round picks or something like that.
Yeah.
For him. We haven't seen that yet. We have seen single games, right? And the Steelers, they've got a quarterback question. It's Russell Wilson. Is it Justin Fields? Both of those guys, we know very well, severely underperformed last year.
And the year before.
And the year prior, at least, under what our expectations were when they got on to the Bears and the Broncos. So they lost they lost Deontay Johnson from the offense. They still have TJ Watt there on the defense. So their defense is going to be good. I don't trust their quarterback still. I mean, did they get better than Kenny Pickett? I would say yes, but did they get better in terms of trying to go for the AFC North crown? I don't think so. And then the Bengals are the only team, in my opinion, that will threaten the Ravens. But can Joe Burrow stay healthy? That's the biggest question. That is the only question that the Bengals have. Can Joe Burrow stay healthy? He's already had 2 seasons where he was lost for the season. Yes, he went to the Super Bowl. Yes, he has been in the playoffs 2 years in a row. But his health is a question mark now. 2 out of the 4 years you've been in the league, you have been out for the season on two separate occasions. Half the seasons you're in, half the seasons you're out. He's a tough some bitch, and we all know that. The entire NFL knows that. So his health is going to be of huge importance moving forward for the Bengals. But I really do think if the Bengals can keep him healthy, that is the only team that can really threaten the Ravens, because the Ravens did have some players from the defense go to other teams in free agency. Patrick Queen, or not Patrick Queen, was it Patrick Queen who went
Yeah,
to the Steelers?
they took Patrick Queen from the Ravens.
Yeah, to the Steelers, right?
Yeah.
So they did lose some key players. But I don't think the offense is going to be that much of a worry. A lot again, they got a little bit better. You can say Derrick Henry being added is an improvement for sure in their running back room. They still have got the MVP from last season. Zay Flowers really came into his own as a wide receiver one last year. I'm going with the Ravens being safe for division winners.
Yeah, you said Joe Burrow, and if he's healthy, the Bengals are annual Super Bowl contenders. I mean, it's the same thing with Buffalo. So,
Mhm.
I mean, you had Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson go down pretty early last season. So it's hard to really get a full scale preview of what to expect this year, because the Ravens, yes, they had the best record in the NFL last year, but they also had the best point differential with plus 203, which is
Yeah.
insane, which means they're beating the piss out of their opponents. Now,
Yeah.
if Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson stay on their teams, do I think that it looks a lot different? Totally do. So I
Yeah.
can't really use that because it's no longer, I mean, it just tells me that the Ravens are a really good team. I already know that. But
Mhm.
besides that, it doesn't do much. When I
Mhm.
look at Joe Burrow and the Bengals, the only true threat in the AFC to the Chiefs since Mahomes has entered the NFL. Um, I mean, even over Josh Allen, over all these guys, like,
Yeah.
yeah, the injury thing, it's a serious thing, 2 of 4 years. Everyone knows it's unfortunate, but it's all been different. It's been unique things. I think it was like a shoulder last year. Whatever it was, I can't remember right now, but it wasn't like a MCL, ACL, or an Achilles. It was something of the shoulder nature, I think. So, um, do I think that Joe Burrow is going to be able to stay healthy? I do. I actually do. It's the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. It's like I said the same thing about Tua last year. I was like, you could look
Yeah.
at all the injuries and say, well, that it's even more unlikely that they get hurt.
Mhm.
Not more likely, right? If I, play a scratch off ticket and I win, what are the chances that the next ticket's going to be a winner? Probably not that high. And the
Mhm.
same goes for the opposite. Like, I do think Joe Burrow is going to stay healthy. And there'll probably be a different quarterback that's hurt. That's just the nature of the game. So,
Yeah.
um, Joe Burrow staying healthy makes the Bengals, in my opinion, uh, the best team probably in the division, especially when you
Ooh.
look at their bolstered offensive line. T. Higgins is going to be on the team. Jamar Chase, um, like, it's the Bengals. I'm sorry, but every year that Joe Burrow's been healthy, it's been Super Bowl or AFC Championship. The only 2 years that hasn't been the case has
Mhm.
been due to injury. So if I don't believe that he's going to be hurt, it kind of leads me to the only place that we go when Joe Burrow is healthy, and that's to the Super Bowl or the game before.
Yeah. Yeah. Championship game. And Bill always quick with the info. Burrow sustained the
Thank you,
right calf
Jamie.
strain. Is the Jim what was it? Jamie? Yeah.
Jamie.
Burrow sustained the right calf strain while rolling out in practice, and Burrow left in the second quarter of week 11 versus the Ravens with a right wrist injury. And it was a wrist ligament, a torn wrist ligament that ended his season last year. Thank you, Bill, for that. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, Deshaun
Um,
Watson was the one with the shoulder.
oh, was that what it was for Deshaun?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
because I remember seeing him with the sling. And then people are like, "Why is he watching the game in the booth? He should be on the sideline with the players." It's like,
It's cold out.
yeah, yeah, sure, whatever.
When you make guaranteed 250 million or whatever, then you can fucking say something, all right? Okay, sure, you should be on the sidelines, whatever.
Yeah, maybe you can see the game better from up there. Did that ever occur to you? Defense. Nobody ever said,
Yeah.
"Why is Vic Fangio in the box? He should be down there on the field."
Like a true defensive coordinator. Like, shut
Some
up.
people like being, a vantage point. What's the crime?
That's a good point. That is always a good point too. Just kind of seeing what's laid out in front of you. I like that. So just to be clear, are you marking the Ravens not safe?
I am marking the Ravens as not safe.
Okay. All right. So another disagreement there between Kyle and I.
I hate that it's like safe or not safe, because I do think there's like a middle.
There is little middles. Yeah. But I kind of just like going with safe or not safe, but also with caveats, like you're saying. Like,
yeah, I'm going to say not safe because of the Bengals.
Yeah, because of the Bengals. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Let's move on to the opposite North. That is my Bears, the NFC North.
Woo!
Kyle and I both have teams in this division we're kind of rooting for here. NFC North last year, winners were the Lions, 12-5, a team that we've been talking about for a couple of years now, kind of with oh my God, why can't I think of his name? The coach.
Not Mike Vrabel, Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell. Ever since he came into the Lions as a head coach, it has just gotten better each year. Last year, they went to the NFC Championship. They have improved greatly. We mentioned the Lions earlier about, if Matthew Stafford was on this team right now, the Lions would almost surely be on everyone's they're making the Super Bowl type of team, before the season starts. Again, they won the division last year, 12-5. Second team behind them were the Packers with 3 less wins at 9-8, and then the Vikings and the Bears. I'm going to go ahead and mark the Lions as not safe. Not safe.
Ooh.
The Bears have Caleb Williams, have one of the top receiving cores in the NFL, in my opinion. The Vikings just brought in JJ McCarthy and still have one of the top receivers in the league in Justin Jefferson. But the only reason I am calling the Lions not safe is because of how good the Packers are and how they were last year with Jordan Love. It pains me to fucking say this. It absolutely pains me to say this. Packers are the true legitimate threat to the Lions. They're the legitimate threat to the Lions. Unless the Bears do something absolutely wild, and I'm still thinking they're going to win 10 games, I think is a pretty good. Oh God, here we go. I still think it's a pretty good thing to say for the Bears. I think it's realistic for them to win at least some games next year. Fucking cheesehead. I still think that the Packers are the biggest threat to the Lions. The Lions have secured Jared Goff. They have secured Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have a lot of other good offensive weapons. Jahmyr Gibbs, Laporta. Their defense has been improved over the last couple of years as well, although they still are giving up a lot of points. Dan Campbell is the head coach. It's what the Packers have done with Jordan Love with a really young wide receiver core. I still think their defense, no matter what way you spin it for the Packers, is going to be probably their biggest liability and their biggest issue. But what was the running back they also got after letting go of Aaron Jones? Josh Jacobs?
Yep, Josh Jacobs.
You bring in Josh Jacobs, that's why I'm marking the Lions not safe, man. It's because of the Packers. Again, the Bears can absolutely be a surprise, and I'm going to root for that. And I in my Bears bones, I think they can absolutely challenge for the division. But right now, for me, it's between the Lions and the Packers. It really is.
Yeah, the Lions aren't safe because Jordan Love is going to win MVP this year. Uh,
Wow.
I
Boo.
All right, we got that out of the way. Look, Jordan Love's last 10 games, okay?
Mhm.
He threw for, let's just look, against the Chargers. I believe they lost that game. And then they started on that win streak when they played the Lions. That was
Mhm.
Thanksgiving. And then they just got something going. QBR 125.5, 118.6, 125.3, 128.6. The Cowboys playoff game 157.2. We're talking about somebody that had 3 interceptions to, I believe, 22 touchdown passes,
Mhm.
something insane. I
Last
did the
10
math
games.
on it. It would have been equal from the moment he flipped that switch. It was equal to him throwing 40 touchdown passes and 6 interceptions in the regular season, which would have led the NFL in
Mhm.
touchdowns. I think he still came third.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that stretch from Love was ridiculous. What they did to the Cowboys was crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got rid of Aaron Jones, but you bring in Josh Jacobs. I think Aaron Jones was playing like a monster last year. Um,
His last
uh,
5 games, he had
mhm.
12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Jesus Christ. Insanity, dude.
Absolutely
In
insane. And then
stretch.
when we watched that Cowboys game, we saw something different. A guy that we didn't know what to expect. It's the playoffs on the road. And Jordan Love was just amazingly unfazed by
Yeah.
the moment. They brought in a free blitzer. He knew where to go with the ball. His processing was next level. It looked like the game slowed down for him. It
Yeah.
looked like Jordan Love was definitely the better quarterback in that game against
Mhm.
Dak Prescott. And it looked like it's not a mystery why the Packers and Jordan Love are in contract negotiations right now, because the Packers have seen enough. And Jordan Love, he happened to, take half the season to turn this page. But now that he's done it, it's like you really see this kid kind of coming into himself. Like he's got more personality than he had last year. He's a part of the Packers schedule release with Tom Grassi. Did you see Tom Grassi was in that?
I'm pretty sure I did see that he was in it. Yeah.
That would be so cool because the social media is like release the
Yeah.
schedule in their own fun way.
Yeah.
But you see like Jordan Love kind of taking that role, like really being okay. I'm the guy here. I've proven it already, so I got that off my chest. Um, I think he's going to be having a lot more fun this season, and I
Mhm.
think he's going to be one of, if not the best quarterback in the NFL. I mean, that's just what I saw from him. Him, Mahomes, of course, but you look at all the young talent around Green Bay, and Jaden Hicks, Tunyon, Tucker Kraft, I think his name
Mhm.
is. You still got Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. Like you got a lot of different people that can play a role. You don't have that like guy necessarily, but you have a lot of them at the
Mhm.
same time. And if Jordan Love continues to just get a chemistry going with these guys, like the Packers could be a force to be reckoned with. I still think the Lions, of course, it's their division.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to be one of those where I say I think the Lions probably can hang on just
Mhm.
because of how good that they are and how good they are at drafting, and the fact that they drafted Ennis Rakestraw at corner.
Yeah.
They're going to be really good again. Jameer Gibbs, like we're going to see a lot of the same players coming back. They didn't have any
Mhm.
huge losses. They lost Christian
Mhm.
Gardner Johnson, but then drafted replacements.
Mhm.
So I think the Lions are going to be really good. And then you got the Bears, and it's like, what are the Bears going to be?
Yeah.
Because if Caleb Williams comes out and he's what CJ Stroud was last year, or he's what Joe Burrow was his first year with the Bengals, his first year not being hurt. I'll put that in there.
Yeah.
Or I'm trying to think of other quarterbacks that kind of can't. Brock Purdy, for
Brock
crying out
Purdy.
loud.
Yeah.
He's one of these guys that comes in and the Bears just look totally different. They look like so much has opened up, to them. Like,
Yeah.
oh, these type of plays that we couldn't run last year with Justin Fields that now they're available to us. And maybe the Bears get on, a roll with Roma Dunze and Keenan Allen, all
Mhm.
weapons, DJ Moore. Like, if it's working in Chicago, it could be an immediate impact. No quarterback was drafted in a better situation than Caleb Williams was going to
Mhm.
Chicago in arguably Bo Nix and Sean Payton. Those are the two. Everyone else has has an uphill battle.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised if Caleb Williams, at least for the moment, we say it worked out. He wasn't a bust because of the situation he was drafted to. Could he have turned this team around if they didn't have any of these weapons and this team? Maybe,
Yeah.
but I definitely think that with the team that they have currently, he's going to be an improvement and the Bears are going to be better. They won 7 games with Fields. They should be closer to 10.
Mhm.
Caleb Williams. But those divisional games are going to be tougher. But I really think you got three teams kind of racing for that top spot. And the Bears, they're like the Minnesota Timberwolves of football, where it's like,
Yeah.
no. We're not coming for you next year. We're coming for you this year.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be fun to watch. But yeah, the Lions hold the keys right now. And if I had to pick a team, it's hard to go against Green Bay right now.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting division to watch, I think. And speaking of the NBA, the Celtics just swept the Pacers to get into the NBA Finals. Just for anybody who loves the NBA out there, it's going to be a very interesting division. Obviously, and I say obviously because they really are the odd team out. Is the Vikings with JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold at quarterback. It really is tough to kind of rule them out regardless because of Justin Jefferson, and they are clearly much better quarterback than they were last year after Kirk Cousins went down. But I think really the top 3 teams you're looking at are the Lions, followed by the Packers, followed by the Bears. It's going to be a very interesting division regardless of what happens next year because the Lions were so close to the Super Bowl. They were 1 win away from the Super Bowl. And Dan Campbell said it himself. Hey, it's hard to get here, man. It's hard for any team to get here. So take it in while you can. Take this moment in the NFC Championship while you can. And while I like the realistic messaging that he gave them after that, I kind of just want my coach to be like, we're going to get back here. I want him to instill that. So
Yeah.
that his decision making, like Bill was commenting about during the regular season into the postseason, like there's a lot of things not to like from Dan Campbell in those aspects. And one of the reasons why I think they're not safe, because like he said, it's very hard to get to where they got to in the NFC Championship last year. You can't ignore what Jordan Love and the Packers with such a young offense have done. And the Bears improved immensely in both the draft and really just over the last couple of years in free agency and whatnot with the addition of Keenan Allen. It's going to be interesting, man. It is going to be one of the interesting divisions to watch, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I will say, like, some people aren't a fan of Dan Campbell saying that, but I look at it a little differently where I think statistically, it's kind of Tom Brady just said this about the Chiefs. Like, could they win 3 in a row? And he's like, it's really hard to win 1. He's like, maybe the greatest football team ever was that team that went 17-0 and we lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl. He's like, the margin of error is, razor blade thin.
Mm-hmm.
And then to win 2 in a row, and like they had a down year last year, that in itself is a miracle. Now to win another one, it's like statistically what Dan Campbell is saying is like, hey, we're not the first team to go to an NFC Championship game and, not go to one the following year. Actually, the norm is that we don't come back. So I want my guys to know, like, hey, every other team feels as confident as you, but what happened last year doesn't mean anything anymore. Like,
Exactly.
you're going to have to go earn this all over again with Jordan Love and Caleb Williams. And Dan Campbell knew who they were going to draft number 1 overall. He's not an idiot. So I think he's just sending a message to his players, like, don't think that you're going to get in this year based off last year's work. Like, it's going to take a whole new year of work. And he just kind of removed that, I guess. I don't want to say, in a way, you could say he was removing the confidence. You don't want that, but he was removing the entitlement.
Oh, okay. I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. But either way, the NFC North is going to be one of the more interesting, I think, divisions to look at next year to see how it plays out. Will the Lions, again, I'm marking them not safe mostly because of the Packers, but the Bears can easily, I say this from the bias side, but the Bears can easily probably jump into that mix, especially with all of their division games week 11 and later. You know
Honestly,
what I mean?
That's like isn't that the expectation?
I would say so. I know a lot of people don't think so because they're like, you can't get past the Lions or the Packers. I have a lot of hope, and I haven't had this much hope in a while for the Bears. Like what they did defensively, the hopium. Yeah, exactly. So I think they could. I know a lot of people do not. But enough of the NFC North. Let's move back to the AFC with the final division, the AFC South. So the AFC South last year, Texans won that 10-7 after beating the Colts, I believe, in a Week 18 game, or it was the Jaguars and the Colts.
Yeah, Jags.
Week 18. Yeah, I think it was Jags Colts. That whole thing that happened. But regardless, the Texans won, had a 10-7 record, surprised a ton of us with what was going on with that team. Again, they were coming into the season with a rookie quarterback, and a lot of people liked CJ Stroud over Bryce Young, but it seemed like Bryce Young was a clear-cut number 1 in the draft that year. So he came into the year, surprised a lot of people with his 300-plus yard games, 3+ touchdown games. DeMeco Ryans was a rookie quarterback. We also got to think about rookie coach. Sorry, you're like, wow, rookie quarterback too.
He's out there slinging it.
That'd be hilarious. We got to think about the other teams because there's still Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. There is a Colts team with a very good head coach and an Anthony Richardson quarterback who got injured. And under, the pretty much the guidance of Gardner Minshew, we're still very much in the mix for a playoff spot into Week 18. So a lot of Colts fans, Jinja, I'm sure included, are looking at that and being like, with Anthony Richardson as our quarterback, we're going to look much better, much, much better. So for me, the Texans are not safe. They are not safe in this division. I love what CJ Stroud did. I love what DeMeco Ryans and his coaching staff did. A lot of these young players stepped up. Sophomore slumps are a real thing. While I don't think CJ Stroud is going to go out there and have a 20 touchdown, 15 interception type of season with like 3,500 yards, I just have a feeling he's not going to be as great as he was his rookie year that got him. What was it? Rookie of the year, right? Offensive player of the year, something like that.
And they had defensive rookie of the year too.
And they had defensive rookie of the year with Will Anderson there. I don't think he's going to regress so much where it's like he's unplayable. No way. CJ Stroud is still a very good quarterback. But I think with the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence still there, they are a seasoned team. Doug Peterson coming back. They have been to the playoffs. That's still a scary, scary thought. And again, the Colts with Steichen and with Anthony Richardson at quarterback, they just re-signed Michael Pittman. This is another interesting one. I like the AFC South as a division, so I'm marking the Texans as not safe to repeat as division winners.
I'm marking them safe immediately.
Woo!
I think that was my Twitter bio. It was like I think it was something in April, and I said the Houston Texans will win the Super Bowl next year.
Wow. Love it. Love it.
The addition of Stephon Diggs, Tank
Yeah.
Dell coming back from injury, what we saw from Nico Collins. I mean, it's like, who's the wide receiver one?
Mhm.
It could be any of them. You bring Schultz back. You beef up the offensive line with the draft, and then CJ Stroud. There's just certain quarterbacks that come into the league and they just make you wonder, like, okay, how do we do that? How do we get that? And it only happens
Mhm.
once every decade. And the last time we saw it was Mahomes. And I don't believe Mahomes had a sophomore slump. I think he won the Super Bowl, or he went to the Super Bowl against the 49ers. He lost in the playoffs in overtime against Tom Brady and the Patriots.
Mhm.
And his second year, he went to the Super Bowl against the 49ers. So I think that that's more of the trajectory of CJ Stroud with what we're seeing from him. He's just a little bit different than all these other guys. So um, I can't believe it too, because I have all the faith in the world in Trevor Lawrence, and I think could be a Hall of Famer, and all of that. It's
Oh,
just, how do we look at what CJ Stroud put on display for us last year and not go with that guy?
yeah.
I think that experience, that playoff game, I think that was going to be good for CJ Stroud. I think it was good for D'Amico Ryans. I think they're going to kind of walk a little taller. They're not going to catch anyone off guard anymore like they
Mhm.
did last year. The Texans are going to benefit from another year of young people maturing in a talented roster that has CJ Stroud, running the show over there. So I don't think that there's anything the Colts or the Jags can do to knock down this team that is only gotten better since last time we saw them. And it's kind of scary to think what this team's really going to look like this year. They were 10-7 last year. I don't see them losing that many games this year.
So you don't think like maybe not the Colts. Maybe that might be a bit of a stretch. I do really like their coach though. Steichen is such a gangster.
Yeah,
Um,
you too.
yeah, but the Jags with
I was going to say the AFC South's in really good shape right now. It's not
yeah.
just like, if it weren't for the Texans being kind of an exceptional team, I would say that this is just like any other division, like whether it's the Bengals and the Ravens.
Mhm.
Um, I just don't. It's kind of like how you feel about the AFC West. Using Mahomes as an example, it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, but Mahomes is different, so I don't really think anyone's going to threaten that.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about the Texans. It's like, not that those other teams aren't going to battle for a wild card spot, make the playoffs, and even surprise people. It's just that the Texans are going to be one of the best teams in the NFL next year, I believe. So
Yeah. And we're not talking really about the Titans. They've made some improvements. I don't know if it's enough to even be in the mix for it. I really do think it's between the Jags and the Texans. You know what I mean? Like, it's no offense to Will Levis or what that organization has done. It's just like when you get rid of what was the name of the head coach they just got rid of?
for
For the Titans, the guy who was there.
Mike
He was
Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel. When you get rid of Mike Vrabel as a head coach because you want to go a different direction or whatever, that's not a good move. That's not a good move, in my opinion.
Where is Mike Vrabel?
I don't know if he's on a staff. I don't think he's going to be on a
Good enough
staff.
to coach now?
Yeah, I guess so. Him and Bill
Coach of the
Belichick.
year candidate? Didn't he
Yeah,
win coach of the year?
I think he won it twice actually. Maybe
Now
once.
he can't be a coordinator. I think there's a secret blacklist going on in
Oh,
the NFL
absolutely,
that we are
absolutely,
not aware of, because
absolutely.
it just doesn't add up.
No,
Oh,
and
the
that's
Browns hired him.
but it is like a defensive like analyst or something like that, right?
The Cleveland Browns had ties to Vrabel. Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator, was hired
Mhm.
by the Titans as a senior defensive assistant in 2021. So at the time, Vrabel started on the hiring of Schwartz. He added Schwartz. So Mike Vrabel hired Schwartz. Schwartz did so good that he earned the defensive coordinator job with the Browns. The idea is that Schwartz would become a resource for Titans defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, as well as the remainder of the defensive staff being hired on what Tennessee was a homecoming for Schwartz. When was this article written?
I don't know. I have no idea.
2004. Yeah, this is now. So on
Oh,
March
okay.
15th, 2024, Vrabel was hired as a coaching and personnel consultant.
Oh, consultant. Okay. So he's not like a coordinator or a coach, really.
What's behind the hiring? What are his duties? Was the hiring an improvement or just one coach helping out another? Could it be Vrabel's hiring was the best move in free agency? Like a sneaky move for
Could
the
be.
Browns. We talked about the Browns and we didn't even talk about this, but
Yeah, it had happened a while ago though, right?
no, I mean it happened like a month, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at that Browns team last year, one of the best defense, the best defense in the NFL, getting Deshaun Watson back and adding somebody like Mike Vrabel to those rooms, like
That could be
man,
good.
the Browns, they were in my top 5 all last season until Deshaun Watson got hurt, and then it
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay.
Joe
But
Flacco came on.
imagine like that. We already talked about the division, but just like if Deshaun Watson comes out year 3 from coming back, and Mike Vrabel and that defense is what they were last year, who knows?
And they got rid of Vrabel from a head coaching position. How good he is in a consultant position, and you get rid of him as a head coach. Again, the Titans, in my view, they added players. They added Calvin Ridley. They added Pollard as their running back. Levis is their quarterback. They still have my God, why can I never think of his name? The wide receiver that they got from the Texans or the Cardinals. DeAndre Hopkins. Like they have a pretty solid 1 and 2 wide receiver core there. But I still don't think, and I think their defense is also a big liability. I still don't think they're a team to be in the mix for their division, like whatsoever.
They
like,
drafted
really don't.
what was it? The offense, J.C. Latham.
J.C. Latham to protect
first round with the 7th pick. He's going to start right away.
Then
T'Vondre Sweat out of Texas, they got in the 2nd round. So I thought they had a pretty decent draft, and then Cedric Gray, and then they added a corner and Jaquan Jackson, wide receiver out of Tulane. So I think they had a pretty good draft. I think all these guys are going to see the field, but I mean, definitely J.C. Latham. But really, this whole year is just about, is Will Levis the guy or is he not the guy? And that's what this whole year is about. And Will Levis is totally a wild card. I mean, he threw 4 touchdown passes in his debut on Monday night against the Dolphins, and then he threw 4 touchdown passes for the rest of the season. Like, he's a little bit of an unknown, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. His injury last year, too, it sucked, but there were like his first game in the NFL was like, oh shit, the Titans might have something here. And then he was pretty below average, which for a rookie that was picked, in the 2nd or 3rd round of the draft, I mean, okay, yeah, that's kind of, that's kind of for par there, right? Like we weren't expecting any big things from Levis. He was in the draft room, there in the NFL draft, hoping to get drafted in the 1st round because a lot of people said he was. But he's shown signs of like, this could be a guy. This could absolutely be a guy. A Dak Prescott, for example, where he was drafted in the later rounds, not necessarily a prime draft prospect, but he could absolutely be something. I just don't think that, you take a step forward with some additions in terms of players, but you take a huge step back in terms of coaching and culture. So again, I don't see the Titans really putting up anything for the division crown for the AFC South.
They are pivoting from the defensive Mike Vrabel, Derrick Henry to offensive. They brought in Joe Burrow's offensive coordinator in Cincinnati.
Yes. I gotta look who that is again.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if this pivot is necessarily a bad thing. And then they bring in, star running back in Tony Pollard, who,
Brian Callahan, yeah.
I mean, there is reason if you're a Titans fan to not feel like total shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
that's
there's
easy. Yeah,
stuff where there's
yeah,
real optimism out there about this team. And look at all the free agency moves they made. I mean, I think at one point you and I were like, are the Titans going to be good? Like what?
yeah,
I remember that like
yeah.
vividly.
Hmm.
And then they had a really good draft. I mean, Tavondre Sweat had a DWI. So
Hmm.
some people thought that pick was a little risky, but for the most part, he's somebody that without the DWI doesn't even fall to the second round.
Yep.
And then J.C. Latham is probably one of the safest picks in this entire draft next to Joe Alt.
Hmm.
So, I mean, we'll see. Like, Tennessee's going to look entirely different. Different's not always bad.
Yeah. I agree. I'm still going Jags though. They're going to threaten the Texans.
Fair
But
enough.
you got the Texans. So I mean, I like it. We've disagreed on maybe half so far, right? I think about half. So let's finish it off. Let's finish off our safe, not safe on last year's division winners with the NFC South.
Woo! Baker Mayfield.
One of the other divisions that's going to be very, very interesting to watch this next season. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say it. The Buccaneers are not safe. The Bucs were last year's division winners for the South with a 9-8 record, and that was with Baker Mayfield on his kind of on his comeback tour, right? Like it was this. Baker Mayfield's going to be a bridge quarterback. He was a first round pick, but he's going to be a bridge quarterback. No, he went absolutely all out for the Bucs last year. Went into the playoffs, destroyed the Eagles, and then he lost against the who was it, the Rams or the Lions? Lions, right?
Yeah.
Regardless, one of those teams.
It was the Lions in Detroit. Remember that reporter was asking if the weather was going to be a factor?
That's right. It was the Lions. They were playing in a dome. Those silly reporters. But the Bucs, to me, yeah, not safe. Again, they were able to do things last year that, I mean, it took pretty much all season for the Bucs to really be crowned the winners of the NFC South because of a very, very dog shit division they were in. But they played pretty damn good for a team that was 9-8 and won their division. Me and Kyle, I think all of last season were like, there shouldn't even be a division winner. They shouldn't be allowed to go in to host a playoff game. But
and then we were reminded. Yeah, it's always those sneaky wildcard teams, and I think Tampa became the first 7 seed to. No, because they won their division. The Packers were the first 7 seed to win a playoff game. When they beat the Cowboys. So it's all about getting a ticket to the playoffs. Anything can happen once you get in. And Baker Mayfield, I think he surprised a lot of people, including myself last year. And I thought the fact that they were able to keep Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and safety Antoine Winfield Jr.
Antoine Winfield, yep.
That those were like the key pieces that I thought Baker needed in order to have that next step. And then also that Baker worked with the quarterback coach in LA with the Rams. That's now the offensive coordinator in Tampa.
Yeah.
And they've already talked about how great it is working together. Now Baker knows that he's the guy. They give him $100 million contract. And I think now he can go out there and kind of build off of last year's success. They drafted a running back. They still have what's his name?
Rashad White,
who was, a little underwhelming last year, but the offensive line was pretty much ass as well. They average, I think, the least amount of yards per carry of any team last year.
Good.
But Tampa Bay, they almost went to the Super Bowl last year. It's like you can't just you can't just watch those games and go, that was a fluke. This was not
No,
done
yeah.
by defensive interceptions, return for touchdowns, or blocked field goals. If you were to look at this game and you were to rank, I guess, how much of a fluke the Tampa Bay Bucks were, it didn't seem like they were. Baker was outplaying the quarterbacks that he was playing against. Even Jared Goff, who was playing lights out in that game, Baker Mayfield was playing right there with him.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of plays where his teammates, ball goes right through the hands, gets intercepted, not on Baker. But I think when you watch, and this is why I feel this way about Jordan Love, it's one thing to win a playoff game. It's another thing to show that kind of just performance in
Yep.
the playoff game. And it's like, that's different. It's not
Mhm.
about just winning one, it's about how Tampa looked while they did it. And it looked different than Baker, than we saw all year. And I think
Mhm.
it really switched week 16 at Lambeau when Baker Mayfield became the first quarterback to have a perfect QBR in Lambeau in December. And
Wow.
it was like from that moment on, all we saw was Baker just being really, really good.
Mhm.
So I'm going to say that it's you got Kirk Cousins on the division now, but
Yep.
we got to see what it looks like. Is he going to start
Mhm.
week 1? How is he going to be back from injury? Is he going to get
Mhm.
a chemistry going with these players? He's a professional. I expect him to, but Baker's already had that year. So I'm going to say that Tampa Bay is safe if they can continue to build off how last season ended. And they could even,
Ooh, okay.
they won 9 games last year.
They did. They did.
So could they win a couple more now that they're rolling? Probably. And that puts them in the 10-11 win category. And do I think Kirk Cousins can come in and win that many? Maybe.
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
Tampa, I feel a little bit more strong.
I was gonna say too, really the biggest, and real quick, what's up, Nash? How's it going? Thanks for joining the Only Football Podcast. Thank you, thank you. Um, the Falcons and Kirk Cousins are the only team that are going to threaten them. And I know you're like, well, what's that Kirk Cousins gonna look like in Atlanta? And with the weapons they have, I think it'll look good. I think it'll look decent. The Falcons were 7-10. Can they make it a 10-7 season with Kirk Cousins there and how they already played with that offense? Again, they had shitty, terrible quarterback play, and they still won 7 games. They were only 2 games back of the division in a division where the winner had 9 games to get the crown. So I don't think it's going to be any worse. I really don't think it's going to be any worse. Can they be a 10-win team? Yeah, and that's the reason I'm marking the Bucks is unsafe, is not safe, because with Kirk Cousins there, with finally some sort of good quarterback play there, I think they can absolutely win 10 games. I think that might be their minimum, in my opinion, really is 10 games. It depends on their schedule. I have to look at it and really kind of dive deep into it. But the Bucks, like you said, you made great points about the Bucks. They won 9. They won 9 games. Like, that's nothing to just kind of be like, oh yeah, that was a fucking fluke. No, that's 9 games. They're going to go into double-digit territory next season, guaranteed, I think, in my opinion. And then we look at the rest of the teams, and the Saints, the Panthers, both. Let's see. The Saints had nine wins, and the Panthers had 2. Realistically, the Panthers might be 2 to 3 games better this season, and the Saints might be 2 to 3 games worse this year. The Derek Carr has become the absolute definition of mediocrity. I don't think they are offensively with him there that much better. I love God, what's the wide receiver
of
of
mediocrity?
mediocrity? Who's the wide receiver there?
Michael Thomas?
No. The other one.
Chris Olave?
Chris Olave. I love Chris Olave. I love him.
He's a beast.
I love their running back. I love them. But Derek Carr at quarterback, you're not going to do shit. Their defense isn't that good. Then you look at the Carolina Panthers. Are they better than 2 wins, 3 wins this year? Yeah, absolutely. I think so. You bring in a new coach in Canales. Bryce Young finally has a season under him. I think through the draft, if I'm not mistaken, they improved, or sorry, free agency, they improved the offensive line for him. I think they brought in a weapon through the draft, if I'm not mistaken, a wide receiver. So are they 2-3 wins better? I think so. Can they be more? Probably. I mean, it's a weak division in terms of the Saints and them, right? But really, I think it's just going to be between the Falcons and the Bucks. If Baker Mayfield can build on the last season where he went to the playoffs and won a playoff game, shit, it really might be a Bucks 13 win type of season for him if he can continue to play like that. I love Baker Mayfield. I loved him when he came into the league and was the Browns quarterback. I thought the Browns finally found their guy. But obviously that didn't work out, and luckily he's doing really well on the Bucks now. So I think if he can continue to play like that, like he did last season, it is a 13 game winning team. We got Clue Kazoo, Colts winning the AFC South. Probably not.
I already said it. I already said it. I said there's no way in hell the Colts don't win that division.
Yeah, right. He is what you would call a liar.
Yeah, I got to go with Tampa. It's funny. I was going through and I'm like, did I disagree with all of them? No. I agreed with some. I thought the 49ers were safe. I think I said the Chiefs weren't with the Chargers in the division.
I said they were, yeah.
I said the Texans were safe.
Opposite for me.
I said the Ravens were not.
Opposite for me.
I said that the Buffalo Bills are not safe.
I agreed.
I said the Cowboys are not safe.
Same.
And I said the Bucks are safe.
I said the opposite. And then the Lions, did you say not safe or safe?
Not safe.
Not safe. Yeah, that's what okay, because I said the same thing. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning in for that, because I thought this was fun. When Cal mentioned it last week, we were gonna do this. But instead we really went into breaking down the season, or I'm sorry, the schedules for the AFC and NFC. So we're like, all right, let's do this for next week. I thought this was really cool kind of thing to do. So thank you guys for sticking with us for these 2 hours. And real quick, again, just want to mention before we move on to the Chives, memberships are now open on the YouTube channel. So we would really appreciate if you guys signed up, became members. Only $2.99 a month. You get some awesome emojis, some perks that come along with it, some badges. It would be really awesome if you guys signed up to become part of the Only Football fam, as we're going to call our members here. But Kyle, is it time? Is it time for the motherfucking
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Chives with Kyle. Sit back and relax and make yourself at home. It's going to be a good one. Of course, today is Memorial Day. So I did prepare a little something sitting outside by the pool. You might see I look a little bit tanner than normal, right? No, you don't notice anything? I wrote something that I think really embodies what this channel is all about. So Memorial Day is an essential day for me and many Americans alike. Memorial Day is an occasion for both grief and celebration, reflecting on the tragic loss of life and recounting the courageousness of military service. For those who have served, the day holds the utmost significance while allowing our country to pay tribute and remembering the lives lost in defense of our nation. When you think of America, football almost immediately comes to mind. While it may seem unusual to connect football with Memorial Day, I believe that the young men and women who lost their lives for this country were upholding some of the same values you find in American football. When you attend a Broncos game, you'll walk into the stadium and be greeted by a sea of orange and blue. You'll meet Bronco fans from all walks of life, regardless of political affiliation, race, belief, or gender. For 3.5 hours, we come together as a family with one common goal: cheering for the Broncos to win. Our love for the Broncos transcends our differences. When the Patriots failed their 2-point conversion in the AFC Championship, propelling us to the Super Bowl 50, we celebrated with strangers simply because they were wearing Broncos gear. In that moment, we experienced something truly beautiful: the unity of being Bronco fans. This is the same spirit we should strive for as a nation. We are all wearing the same t-shirt. There may be 32 different NFL teams, but above football, there's only one shirt we all share: American. Memorial Day is a day to set aside our differences and thank those who have made the ultimate sacrifices. It's up to us to ensure those lives lost are not in vain. We are stronger when we stand united. Today, we aren't Democrat, Republican, or independents, but Americans. Some people argue that football is a distraction from the real world. However, it's essential to recognize that having a distraction is a privilege, even a luxury. A
Mhm.
luxury that reminds us that it's only by the courage of men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice that we can enjoy this game that we love. That's why all professional sports begin with a military tribute. This football game reminds us of our country's core values and how the highest sacrifices preserve them. God bless the men and women who have paid this sacrifice. It's a debt we can never repay, but it will not be in vain. And today we say thank you.
Love it. Love it. Good job, Kyle. And I loved it because yes, it is Memorial Day. So you guys, we really got to think about that. You know, as veterans, this has a bit of more of a meaning to it as well, because not only, you know, did we serve, but we know people that have lost their lives while serving. So this is definitely hits a little bit harder. It's a little bit closer to home. Um, so that was a great speech by Kyle. I loved it. I loved it, man.
Yeah, and it's so hard to try to I almost look at it like people that lose their life from a tornado. You know, there's just a lot of tornadoes ripping through the middle of the country, or you know, a hurricane, or maybe even the tsunamis that are going on, you know, in one of the country. I'm forgetting what it was, but you know, like 6 people have been reported dead. It's hard to
Yeah.
really understand, you know, what it's like to be that person that was in their house when a tornado ripped through, because it's like that would never happen to me. And you know, having, you know, a near death experience, I can say that I would have never thought in a million years that that would have happened to me.
Mhm.
And you just know that all these people have lost their lives. Like, sure, you know, they're not to say that they, you know, aren't fighting for the country and stuff, but some people are just trying to get a free college. You know, some
Yeah.
people are just trying to get in and do their time. People join for multiple different reasons, but at the end of the day, I don't think anybody really feels like that could happen to them. And each person that loses their life is not just, you know, another name. It's a person that had hopes, that had dreams, that
Mhm.
perhaps just wanted to do their time and get out. So um, I think that's what Memorial Day is about for me, is trying to realize that, you know, it's a happy day. It's just
Yeah.
not, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
um, you know, it's a day to really reflect on that.
Absolutely. And it doesn't get lost on me either. And I'm sure a lot of other people who have served, it's not something that's lost on them. You know, it's Memorial Day. A lot of people think like, hey, 3-day weekend, gonna grill, gonna have fun with my friends, which I think is still a very awesome thing to do because
I did it today.
yeah, and a lot of friends that, or not a lot of friends, my best friends from back at home. One of my favorite and best memories is having a 3-day Memorial Day barbecue in my friend's pool, having some drinks, having some laughs, playing some games. Like, it's just one of those things that I remember and I truly, truly treasure from back when I was like 21, 22 years old. And we did that. Because it also goes to show you that you have people who love you. You've got people, you've got friends, you've got family that you hang out with during the weekend that you should absolutely treasure, because it can be gone just like that. Like Kyle said, there's a lot of people that wish they could have another Memorial Day weekend with someone, whether they be a veteran or whether they just be a friend from high school, a friend that they just met. They wish they could have those Memorial Day weekends with them, but they are no longer here. And it's one of those things where you have to be very appreciative of where you are, what you're doing right now. So I loved it. Kyle was like, I've got something for Chives. I've got a Memorial Day thing that he worked on for quite a while. So, and everybody else here loved it, which Crafty saying clap, clap, clap. I loved
Thanks,
it.
guys.
Loved it. Yeah. And with that, I just want to show appreciation to Clue. He just became a YouTube member. And not only that, Kyle, he gifted 5 memberships.
Wow.
Those 5 members are Nash, Hurricane, Galadies, Tyler, Kitzman, and Liam. They all get memberships thanks to Clue being generous.
Wow.
We have a total of 7 members on our first day of premiering membership. So Clue, Bill, Ginger, Hurricane, Nash, Tyler, Galadies, Liam Wolf, Steelers fan Liam. Thank you guys so much for being members. We really appreciate that so very much. Clue saying sending love. Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate that.
Really appreciate it. Oh man. What a fucking day.
I didn't expect it to go this well, but
yeah,
I'm always pleasantly surprised when we, do something new.
Yeah, it's awesome because this just kind of motivates us to keep going, honestly. And I'm hoping, soon that this becomes just what we do, Kyle. This is just what we do.
It will. It
absolutely will. Yeah, you got to keep that.
Yeah. It's people don't fail, they quit.
Exactly. Yeah. Love it so much.
We're gonna. It doesn't matter how bad we are at names here. We are going to do this as long as it takes for it to work. And that's it. We might be awful, but we're gonna be popular.
Oh yeah, we are. Even if it means, me not wearing Bears gear for the first few weeks of the season and literally just wearing an NFL hat.
like a referee just
like
out
a
here.
Fucking ref. It doesn't matter. I don't care what happens. I will live to my word about not wearing Bears gear until then.
You said until they give you a reason to be proud. That's very ambiguous. Okay, could that happen week 1 if the Bears win, or is that
no.
win a playoff game, or do that?
No, I said 5 games. I said 5 wins.
5 wins. What if that happens week 15?
Well, then that happens week 15, and it better not happen week 15. It better not fucking happen week 15, or I'll be so unproud of them at that point. Oh my god, that would be my fucking nightmare. That would be my nightmare. Oh, god damn it, Kyle! Why would you wish that on me?
I didn't say I wished it. I was just
literally
putting a hypothetical situation out there.
You literally wished it on me.
I didn't wish it.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you guys so much. This was a great episode, I think, in my opinion. We have a total of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 members of the Only Football Podcast. Only Football Fam is what you guys will be called. The Only Football Fam, the OFF, if you will, the OFF, the OFF.
I love it.
The OFF.
one last thing I was gonna say, my Twitter and
Nah.
stuff, NFL with Kyle. You can follow me on X.
X.
The reason I was bringing it up is because I got to interview somebody from the Philippines 2 days ago. He was
Really?
ex-Navy. He was stationed in Whidbey Island, and he was an
What?
aviation mechanic, I think, on the Growlers.
Wow.
And he was in the Philippines. He was going country to country. So definitely check out that interview. There is like 1 minute from like 8 minutes to like 9 minutes. Something weird happens with my mic, but it goes away. It was just like a minute. I don't know what happened there. I
You
think
deep throat the mic.
it might just be the connection from Philippines to and then the fifth interview I did, so interview number 5, I think as far as just like informative goes and like the flow of the interview, I thought it was
Watched
the
it.
best one that we've had. So definitely check those out. And we're continuing to build a Broncos community. So for people watching this maybe later, if you're a huge Broncos fan, my channel is the place to be right now.
I saw the 5th one. KC, what's up, KC? I saw the interview you did. He was also a veteran, correct? 14
Mhm.
years in the Army.
Oh, you saw that one too?
I
Yeah.
saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
one.
the 5th one.
That wasn't the 5th one.
Oh, I thought it said number 5 on it when I looked at it.
The 5th one was with a guy that was wearing like a gamer headset. And he was really good. And then the one I did
okay.
before that was the Navy guy. And then I think it was like maybe I think it was the 3rd or 4th that was the Army vet.
Okay,
Or
okay.
the
Because
3rd. I think it was the 3rd.
I saw that one. I was gonna comment on something you said about Caleb Williams, but I decided not to.
What did I say?
Regardless,
What did I say?
no, that he said about Caleb Williams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I was like, nope. You know what? But I should comment something because those interviews are awesome because you could tell there's a real connection between you and the other Denver Broncos fans. Like there's something like he's like, I remember when this happened, and I remember from 1996. That's when I started watching Broncos games, and I was like, see, this is like building that community, like exactly what you're trying to do. So go check his channel out, guys, at Kyle Kitzman on YouTube. Go look at those interviews because I've seen 2 of them so far, and they're both A+.
Appreciate that.
But yes, you can also follow me on YouTube at Yo I'm Rick right down there, and you could follow me on X, on Ecstasy at And Now Rick. Make sure to go follow me. I right now it's a lot of Cub stuff. They're not doing so well, but it is about that. But regardless, it's going to become Bears and football once it gets closer to the season. And then obviously, please make sure to like this stream. Please like the stream on Twitch, on X, wherever it is you're watching this stream right now, the Only Football Podcast. Please make sure to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your family, tell coworkers, tell people on the street that you don't recognize or know, or it's the first time you're seeing in your life. Because really, at the end of the day, they're all NPCs. They're not real people.
No, be like, you need to watch the Only Football Podcast, and the Brewers have a 4-game lead in the National League Central. Let them all know.
Fuck you. Oh my God. And again, before we leave, because this is part of being a member, this is a part of being the Only Football fan. You guys get a shout out here at the outro. So I want to give a quick shout out to Clue, to Bill, the Hurricane, Nash, Jinja, your our boy Tyler, Liam, the Steelers fan, and Galadese. Thank you guys so much for being members. We now have them up, like it says down there in the ticker, $2.99 a month. You get awesome emojis, you get some badges, you get a shout out, and we're going to create members only polls on our community tab under our YouTube. So thank you guys, everybody who became a member today. 8 total members in just one day. That is ridiculous. That's insane. That is insane.
Did you say Galadese?
Galadese, yeah.
Galladee's nuts.
Galladee's nuts. Remember when they were in here and they're like, "Do you get the joke?"
No, I forgot. I was like that. I was
Yeah.
like, this has got to be a joke.
Yeah. You're like, D's. It's got to be something here. Oh,
So
it was
real
funny.
quick, how do you decide who gets to be the member? Like, let's say Clue bought 5 members. How
Mhm.
do you know like which 5 become members?
I think Bill said it earlier in a comment. He says he doesn't get to decide who gets it. I think it's just part of the YouTube,
It's
like,
randomized.
yeah, it's random.
Oh,
So
cool. That's
yeah,
even more kind of exciting.
yeah. So big ups to Bill and to Clue for not only becoming members today, but gifting these memberships out to random people who have been a
Sub.
big part of this channel.
It's like a list of people that subbed, right?
Possibly, I would assume so.
It sounds like, just going by the list you gave me, like Tyler, like these are all people that Jinja that tune in the most. So maybe it goes by like most heavily visited people.
Possibly, like, yeah, like you said, it's subs and people who watch, comment, all that stuff.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Then it's going to probably end up going to all the right people. So,
yeah,
because you could have a short that somebody subscribed one day, but he's never been in there, that gets a membership, but it doesn't sound like that's how it goes.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. And also, Bill and Clue, is it just a 1 month membership? Because I don't know how any of this works. I don't know. Like this, I just was like, "Yep, memberships activating." I don't know how any of this works. Because if it is, I mean, that's fucking awesome, regardless.
Yeah,
So
it'll be fun to, you guys are going to see us learning on the go here.
yeah, it is. Oh, and Nash got picked for a membership on Tom Grossi stream 4 times. Hell
Wow.
yeah, good for you, Nash. And now one here on the Only Football Podcast. Well, again, we cannot stress enough how much we appreciate it, and especially on Memorial Day. Casey saying it is a month. I just read the terms. Oh, okay. Thank you, Casey, for the clarification. Again, we cannot stress enough how much we appreciate you guys for doing this, not only like tuning in, commenting, being a part of the stream, really, but for super chats, for memberships. It's awesome. It's just an awesome feeling, and it just kind of motivates me to continue to keep doing this. And I'm sure
Don't
says
give
the
up,
same for
kids.
Kyle.
Don't
Don't
give
give
up
up
on
on
your
your
dreams.
dreams. We
One
said that
day.
in unison. I love it.
Not one day, like one day in the future. One day at a time.
Day. That's right. Step by step by step by step until you quit. Well, thank you guys again so much for being on this stream. We really appreciate you. Wait, Bill's saying heads up on one more thing, Rick. What is it, Bill?
We got
Give me the
a off member,
off member.
Only Football Fam,
Only Football Fam.
giving us a inside. Maybe even in the future we could do like members only, like I don't know, what would that be, like a members only
Like live
episode.
stream?
Yeah, like a live stream with
Yeah.
members only, and maybe even like we could Zoom, people that are interested in stuff, and
Yeah.
we'll
that would
definitely
be
mess around with it and give other incentives too to be a member.
Yeah, maybe like a Q&A. Bill saying you have to opt in to be gifted a membership. Oh, okay.
Ooh, okay.
To be opt in. Okay, gotcha. Well, we appreciate everybody who has opted in and was gifted a membership today, because again, it just makes us want to do this even more. It just keeps us going. So we really appreciate the family, the Only Football Fam that we have created in our short time, really, in the scope of things here on YouTube. And we will be here forever and ever.
Amen.
Amen. Kyle, always a good time, brother.
Always a good time.
So